Elden Hollow was once a village filled with the music of life. Laughter echoed through the square, birdsong filled the air. Now, an unsettling silence hung over the village, heavy and absolute. The wind no longer rustled through the trees. The stream, once a lively chatter, flowed silently onward. The houses, once bright and welcoming, stood with empty eyes. Their paint peeled like scabs. Their doors hung open like vacant mouths. The villagers moved like ghosts, their faces etched with fear. They communicated with frantic gestures, their eyes wide with unspoken pleas. Elden Hollow had become a place of whispers, a place where sound had died and taken joy with it. It was a place steeped in fear, where the silence itself seemed to watch and listen. It was a place that chilled the soul and stole the breath from your lungs. Mara arrived at the edge of Elden Hollow with her equipment in tow. A sound engineer by trade, she had traveled far, drawn by tales of the village's strange affliction. Her backpack held an arsenal of microphones and recorders. She aimed to capture the silence, to dissect it, to understand it. The silence pressed against her, immediate and absolute. It was more than just an absence of sound. It was a presence in itself, suffocating and heavy. Mara raised her hand to her ear as if expecting to hear the blood rushing in her veins. But there was nothing. Mara took a deep breath and adjusted the straps of her backpack. She had faced silence before, in anechoic chambers and recording studios. But this was different. This silence hummed with an unseen energy. This silence had a weight, a texture. This silence, Mara knew, held a story. And she was determined to hear it. An old woman, her face a roadmap of wrinkles, stood in Mara's path. Her eyes, though clouded with age, held a spark of warning. She shook her head slowly and held up a hand, palm outward. Her lips moved, forming words that Mara couldn't hear. Others emerged from their homes, their faces etched with the same fear. They gestured wildly, their silence a chorus of desperate pleas. Mara tried to speak, but her words died in her throat. The silence felt like a barrier, cutting her off from the villagers. Mara lowered her equipment, her gaze moving from face to face. She understood their fear, even if she didn't share it. They were trapped in a prison of silence, their voices stolen, their stories untold. Mara nodded slowly, acknowledging their warnings. She would tread carefully in this place of whispers. The forest pressed close to the path, the trees like silent sentinels. The air was still and heavy, the silence amplifying every rustle and snap. Mara moved cautiously, her senses on high alert. She felt a growing unease, a prickling at the back of her neck. She stopped to listen, her breath catching in her throat. A faint whisper, barely audible, seemed to emanate from the trees themselves. It was a chorus of voices, pleading, desperate. Mara strained to make out the words, but they danced just beyond her grasp. The path led deeper into the woods, the silence growing more profound with each step. The sunlight, already weak, struggled to penetrate the dense canopy. The air grew colder, the silence more oppressive. Mara pressed onward, drawn by the whispers, by the mystery of Elden Hollow's silence. She was determined to break through the silence, to hear the story it held. The whispers grew stronger as Mara ventured deeper. They swirled around her, a symphony of disembodied voices. She could almost feel them brushing against her skin, cold and ethereal. They spoke of fear, of loss, of a silence that had fallen upon them like a curse. Mara stopped, her heart pounding in her chest. The whispers seemed to be coming from a specific direction. They beckoned her forward, their urgency palpable. She followed the sound, her hand hovering over the recorder in her pocket. The trees thinned, revealing a clearing bathed in an eerie, luminescent light. In the center stood a circle of ancient stones, their surfaces etched with strange symbols. The whispers were strongest here, swirling around the stones like a vortex. Mara felt a chill run down her spine. This was the heart of the silence, the source of Elden Hollow's affliction. The stones were arranged in a perfect circle, their rough surfaces cold and damp. They seemed to hum with an unseen energy, a palpable force that sent shivers down Mara's spine. The air crackled with anticipation, with a sense of something ancient and powerful. The whispers intensified, swirling around the stones like a vortex. They spoke of a sacrifice, of a price that had to be paid to break the curse of silence. They spoke of a guardian, a figure bound to the stones, who demanded a terrible price for the return of sound. Mara felt a cold dread creep into her heart. The whispers spoke of a choice, a sacrifice that had to be made. She could feel the weight of their pleas, the desperation in their voices. But what could she possibly offer to appease this ancient power? What sacrifice could break the silence that held Elden Hollow captive? A figure began to solidify in the center of the stone circle. It shimmered, insubstantial at first, like heat haze above a flame. Then it coalesced, taking on a more defined shape. It was neither male nor female, human nor beast. It was something ancient, something otherworldly. Its voice, when it spoke, was neither whisper nor shout. It resonated deep within Mara's bones, vibrating through her very core. It spoke of balance, of the natural order. It spoke of the silence as a consequence, a necessary hush to quell a discordant symphony. The figure turned its gaze to Mara, its eyes burning like embers. It spoke of her arrival, of her quest to restore what was lost. It offered a choice, a single path to lift the curse. But the price, it warned, would be steep. The price would be a piece of Mara's own being, a sacrifice of self to restore the voice of Elden Hollow. Mara's mind raced. Could she make such a sacrifice, even if it meant restoring the village to its former glory? The whispers pressed against her, pleading, desperate. She thought of the villagers, their faces etched with fear and resignation. She thought of the joy that had been stolen, the silence that had choked the life out of Elden Hollow. She thought of her own work, her passion for capturing sound, for giving voice to the world around her. What good was her work if she couldn't use it to help those in need? What good was her voice if she couldn't lend it to those who had been silenced? Mara took a deep breath, the weight of the decision heavy on her shoulders. She knew what she had to do. She would offer the figure a piece of herself, a sacrifice to restore the balance, to break the curse. She would give up her ability to hear, to truly experience sound so that Elden Hollow could sing again. Mara closed her eyes and concentrated, focusing her will, her very essence. She felt a tingling sensation spread through her body, a feeling of something being gently pulled away. The whispers intensified, swirling around her like a vortex, a maelstrom of sound and energy. Images flashed before her eyes. She saw Elden Hollow as it once was, a vibrant tapestry of life and laughter. She heard the joyous shouts of children playing, the rhythmic clang of the blacksmith's hammer, the melodic strains of a fiddle playing in the square. The figure in the center of the circle began to glow brighter, its form pulsing with energy. The air crackled with power, the very earth beneath her feet seeming to tremble. Mara held fast, her resolve unwavering. She would see this through to the end, no matter the cost. The figure extended a hand, its touch sending a jolt of energy through Mara's body. The world around her dissolved into a blinding white light. The whispers reached a fever pitch, then abruptly ceased, leaving behind an echoing silence. Then slowly, tentatively, the first sounds returned. A bird chirped, its song hesitant at first, then gaining confidence. The wind rustled through the trees, a gentle caress rather than a mournful sigh. From the village, faint at first, came the sound of a dog barking, followed by the joyous shouts of children. Mara opened her eyes, her vision blurry, her ears ringing. She could barely hear the sounds returning to the world around her, but she could feel them, vibrating through her very being, a symphony of life restored. A smile touched her lips. She had paid the price, but it had been worth it. The villagers emerged from the forest, their faces transformed. They no longer moved with the same haunted silence. Their eyes, once clouded with fear, now sparkled with life. They gathered around Mara, their hands reaching out to touch her, to thank her. Though Mara could no longer fully experience the richness of sound, she found a different kind of joy in the silence. She could feel the vibrations of the world around her, the subtle nuances of sound that most people missed. She became a guardian of sorts, a protector of Elden Hollow's newfound voice. Mara stayed in Elden Hollow, her life forever intertwined with the village and its people. She became a symbol of their resilience, a reminder that even in the deepest silence, hope could be found. And though the whispers were gone, their echoes lingered in her heart, a constant reminder of the sacrifice she had made and the power of sound to heal and unite.